Okay, student had a question on our imaginary numbers problems. I think there was 5 of them. The last two look something like this, and I think everybody is on board with knowing that something to the 5th power means that you multiply that something by itself 5 times. That makes sense, correct? Making sense? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so then in each of those parentheses, we've obviously got a negative 2i. And what is invisible between each of those negative 2 and I?
Multiplication sign?
Multiplication sign, yep. Okay. And would everybody agree at this point that the only operation we have left is multiplication?
Yes.
And does order matter when you multiply? If it's only multiplication, like would 2 times 3 times 6 be the same as 6 times 2 times 3?
Yes.
So with that being said, I'm just going to ignore these parentheses. And did anybody remember what I was the same as? What did I represent?
Square root of -1.
Square root of -1. So alright. Everybody following me up to that point? Okay, so since multiplication can be done in any order, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put all my, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. I'm just going to move those all to the front. And then there's 5 of these as well. I'm going to move those all to the back. And remember, every 2 negatives make a positive. So think of this as a positive times a positive, which would be a positive, right? And then a positive and negative would be a negative, right? You could also say if you have an odd number of negatives, it's always going to come out negative. Right, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, this is going to be 32. And that's going to be negative 32. Any questions with that? Okay, so anytime you have a square root, multiplying 2 of those square roots together always gives you the number that's on the inside of those square roots. So in this case, because both these are -1, 2 of those are going to turn into a -1, right? And same thing with this. And who remembers what to do with this when there's only 1 left over?
Change it to I.
Change it to I, yep. And now we're going to multiply these together. So negative times a negative times a negative is going to be a what?
Negative.
Yep, so that's going to be negative 32i would be the final answer to that. If that was to the 3rd power, I might as well just do this because we're already there as far as our work goes. So let's say that was to the 3rd power. Does everybody agree that your work would look like that? To the 3rd power, negative 2i times negative 2i times negative 2i, right? Remember, I is the same as square root of -1. So we have this. Oh, we got an extra one of these, don't we?
And I don't think there's 5 of those 2s.
There. Oh, you're right. There's only 3 of those 2s. Yep. Okay, so in a situation like this, that would be -8 times -1. And since that's the only one left, that would just be I. So you guys agree that would come out to be positive 8i? And if this was a 2, we know negative times a negative is a positive, and we know that the square root of -1 times the square root of -1 is equal to what again?
1.
Close. equals
-1.
-1. And then he does multiplying them straight across, -4. That should be enough to get you guys through the rest of those problems, hopefully, and underworld that to imaginary numbers.